Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everyone's doing well. I just decided I was going to film a video today, and I didn't really have anything super King related. I've been good. I haven't been shopping or anything. So I thought I would do something a little different. And I thought I would showcase some books that I have that are not Stephen King, that are other authors that I would definitely recommend reading, and other books that may also be King related. Now, a lot of these I have read in my youth, the books that are not King related. The ones that are King related, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to read these, but I'll go through them really quickly. We have Tabitha King's One-on-One. I saw this at a used bookstore for like $1 or so. I figured I had to just pick it up, got to keep it all in the family. So I figured I should have at least something from her. I haven't actually had a chance to read it though, so my schedule is a little hectic, so I don't know if I'll get a chance to do it at any time in the future. But it's on my list, but it's not really at the top. Then we actually have his son. We've got Joe Hill's Horns, which I have not read, but I did see the movie with Daniel Radcliffe. Very good. I really enjoyed the movie. If the book is anything like it, I think the book would have to be very good. And then we also have 20th Century Ghosts, which there again I have not read, by Joe Hill. And Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, for those of you who don't know. So technically he's Joe King. I'm not joking, but he is. I know that's a horrible joke, but yeah, so Joe Hill. Then he is also involved in the comic books as well with the series Lock and Key. So I've got some copies of Lock and Key that I have in my collection to go along with that, his works, including this kind of like bigger Treasury edition. Very cool. And then the other book I have is The Art of Michael Whelan. Now, he is an artist who does a lot of really cool fantasy artwork for like book covers and things. And he's actually done the work that a lot of people would be familiar with for Stephen King for The Gunslinger. So let me see if I can find that. I have it marked out here. So like he did, oh, where is it? There we go. This kind of more classic Picture of Roland that everyone is familiar with. That's Michael Whelan. So he does a lot of different artwork for Stephen King. He did a cover for Firestarter, which I'll show you that one here. It doesn't look like you would think it would. I don't think it actually was used on a book or anything, but that's supposed to be right over here, Firestarter. And this is actually a photo, a picture he did for Danse Macabre. Or Macabre, however you say it. I never get it right. But yeah, I don't know if either one of those were ever actually used for book covers, but yeah, he does a lot of work for different genres, different types of books. So very cool to get that added to my collection. I actually used to have this book when it came out brand new. I got it at the bookstore. It was like 60 some, no, actually, what was it? Yeah, $60. I was able to pick up, I had lost that copy. I was able to pick up this copy on Thrift Books for like 10. So if you're looking for one, that might be a place to check it out. Next one I have is, this is the only one from this author that I've actually read, but I've seen his other works, like his movies and things like that. It's Clive Barker, and it's The Thief of Always. And I actually really love, and I know this book is different than his other books. His other books are more horror. This is more of a fable, fairy tale kind of thing. This is one of my favorite books to read when I was in high school. I could literally sit down and read it in an afternoon. And the cool thing about this book is it is actually autographed to Karen. So unfortunately I'm not Karen, but it was autographed to Karen by Clive Barker. So I'm like, how cool is that? Then we have my second favorite author. He writes my favorite book, but he's my second favorite author. So unfortunately, King does not write my favorite book, but he's still my favorite author. So if that makes sense, is Robert R. McCammon. And here's one book I have of his, Speaks the Nightbird. It's a little bit different than his other works, but the reason I started with this one is a friend of mine, actually, he lives in Birmingham, Alabama, was able to get it autographed to me. So I actually have an autographed book to me by my second favorite author who writes my favorite book. So I have that. He also wrote, here's a double edition of Boy's Life and Gone South. Boy's Life, excellent story. It's about this kid growing up in like the 50s, very fantastic, fable-ish as well, not super horror, but there's also Nazis involved. So Lost Gold, you should definitely check it out. Gone South, I don't believe I've ever actually read that one. And then this is my favorite book. This is the one that I checked this out of the library in ninth grade, and it's a pretty thick book. It's over 1,000 pages. So very comparable to some of King's work. I checked it out of the library in ninth grade, and I was supposed to be doing a book report on it, and I got it on a Friday, and the teacher's like, "Are you sure you want to do a book that thick?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it'll be fine." And I come back on Monday, and I'm like, "Yeah, I need to do a new book." And she's like, "What, is it too hard?" And I'm like, "No, I actually finished it, so I'm going to do something else." And she was just like blown away that I had read this 1,000-page book in a weekend. I used to just be a voracious reader. I just can't do that anymore, unfortunately. But it is Swan Song, and I've got a couple editions of this. I've got the bigger one and the smaller one. And again, my friend was able to get him to, let me pull this up, autograph this one as well. So I have an autographed copy of my favorite book by my second favorite author. Now, Swan Song a lot of times gets compared to King's The Stand. They are a bit similar, you know, post-apocalyptic, end of the world, supernatural type events. Good and evil, setting up a battle. But I mean, that's a lot of books. I mean, that's everything almost. So it's similar in that way, but this one deals with a nuclear war, not a plague. I think they did it extremely well. I really enjoyed it. I literally, after I read it that first year in high school, I probably read it every year thereafter for about the next 10, 15 years. So literally once a year I read that book. Or I listened to it on audio. I don't do that as much anymore, unfortunately, but I did listen to it on audio just 2 years ago. So it's definitely one that I like to go back to and revisit, and I do really enjoy that. I also did the same thing with The Stand, so it's very similar to that. Next one we have here is, and I like his covers that he had in the 90s when these were all coming out. They all had a kind of similar theme, usually like a sun in the background or a moon in the background and then something going towards it. So we'll start with They Thirst. And this was actually the first book of his that I read. And it's basically a really cool take on what if vampires tried to take over a big city like Los Angeles. And it's very cool. I like it. Kind of imagine Salem's Lot on a much grander scale. That's another one that a lot of people I think who are King fans also enjoy that one as well. Then we have the paperback cover of Boy's Life. There again, they got the moon and the boy riding into the distance. So I love that style of cover that they did for his books. There again, Boy's Life, excellent read. Next one is Wolf's Hour. And there again, you got the sun and the wolf in the background. But basically, this is about a Russian werewolf fighting Nazis. Highly recommend it. It's very cool. And there's actually a sequel to this one. Unfortunately, I have not read the sequel. It's a little harder to find. So I'm on the lookout for that, because there again, I only try and get them in used bookstores. I mean, and some of his used stuff is kind of out of print, and it actually goes for pretty high prices as well. The next one is another favorite of mine of his, Stinger. And the thing about Stinger is it's basically aliens invade a small town. That's all I'm going to tell you about it. Very cool story. Well, again, another one of my favorite ones. I have that one on audio. I just listened to that not that long ago. Then we have this one, not one of my favorite ones of his, Bethany Sin. It's basically this people move to this town. The town's basically a cult of these Amazonian kind of worshippers. And yeah, it wasn't one of my favorite ones of his. Then we have Baal. Baal, very cool. It's kind of Antichrist sort of story. This evil entity is born, and then these humans have to fight him, and he's trying to basically take over the world, and it's basically the son of the devil kind of thing. So very cool, very similar to maybe The Omen. But yeah, I do enjoy that one as well. The next one, I'm actually going to skip the next one and go to this one. This one breaks the cover pattern a little bit, but this one is mine, and it's got and it's basically, I haven't read this one. It's, if I remember correctly, it's this crazy psycho lady kidnaps a baby. I don't really know much of the details about it, but if I get around to reading again or it piques my interest, I might pick it up. But the next one I want to show you is Blue World, and I really, really like this one. It's actually a collection of short stories, and there's some really, really good ones in here, including one called Night Calls the Green Falcon. And if you've ever seen the music video for the song, Would You Still Call Me Superman, Three Doors Down, I think, or whoever it is who sings that song, that video almost literally looks like it's a little movie for A Night Calls the Green Falcon. It's basically this old superhero character who used to do movie serials in like the the 30s and 40s, the little clips that they would play on the Saturday morning matinees. Like he played that character, the Green Falcon, and he was like the superhero character, version of Superman kind of. And now he's this old retired guy in Hollywood he's just like broke and living in this cheesy hotel. And basically, there's a serial killer who's hunting hookers. Granted, the video doesn't quite show that; it just shows a guy beating a girl, and then the old man puts on his costume and then goes saves the girl, which is basically the concept of Night Calls the Green Falcon. But there is something pretty cool in here. I think it's on page 192, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, somewhere in there. It's basically he's talking about there was a fire at a theater that he was performing at, and that's kind of why he got out of performing. And I lived in Watertown, South Dakota at the time, and I'm reading it, and he's talking about this theater in Watertown, South Dakota. I'm like, how random is that? Who's going to small town South Dakota? So I was kind of blown away by that, and I thought that was really cool to see the name of the town I was living in actually mentioned in a story I was reading from, one of my favorite authors. So I was really kind of blown away by that. But yeah, that's all of the Robert McCammon books that I have in my collection. There again, I don't collect a lot of other authors besides King. He's my main man. But I would definitely say if you like King, you might want to check out Robert McCammon. Of course, Clive Barker. Who doesn't know Clive Barker? If you're a fan of horror, there again, Nightbreed, the Hellraiser series. Like I said, I'm more familiar with his movies and things, not so much his books, other than The Thief of Always. But I do have some of his comics around somewhere too, so I'll have to check those out. But I hope everyone is staying safe, and I hope you keep reading.